The bank stood proud on the corner of Main Street, its sturdy stone walls glistening under the pale moonlight. Tall columns framed the entrance, giving it an air of strength and security. At night, the town was quiet, but the bank loomed like a fortress, guarding secrets within its walls. As the stars twinkled overhead, the heavy door creaked open for the night guard, a routine he had followed for years. Inside, the faint scent of polished wood mixed with the metallic tang of coins and bills lingered in the air. But it was the safe that commanded the most attention. Towering and imposing, it sat at the back of the room like a slumbering giant. Its exterior shimmered with a polished surface that reflected glowing light from the overhead bulbs. The lock on the front was intricate, almost like art, showcasing gears and mechanisms designed to keep its treasures hidden and secure. The night guard often found himself captivated by the safe's allure. He imagined what lay within: stacks of cash, glittering jewels, and perhaps even forgotten dreams. Each night, he would glance at it, dreaming of freedom from his routine life spent behind the bank's iron bars. The safe seemed to hold more than riches. It contained possibilities, adventures waiting to burst forth. In this stillness, as shadows danced around him, he felt a strange connection with the safe. Little did he know that tonight would be different, that the night would soon whisper secrets ready to unfold. The night guard, a man named Henry, was a figure of routine and discipline. Each day faded into the next, marked by the same familiar tasks as he swept through the darkened bank. He always arrived promptly at 8 o'clock, the heavy key to the front door hanging from a chain around his neck. After locking the door behind him, he would adjust his cap and embark on his nightly patrol. Henry was tall and sturdy, with a weathered face that spoke of years spent in service. He kept a vigilant eye on each corner of the bank, ensuring everything was in order. As he walked beneath the soft glow of the bulbs, he would often steal glances at the magnificent safe looming in the back room. To him, it symbolized both security and confinement. His daily life was spent keeping watch over something that felt as distant as a dream. In his heart, he longed for excitement beyond these walls, the thrill of adventure that lay outside the bank's confines. He pictured himself exploring new places, sailing across oceans or climbing mountains. Each click of his flashlight against the safe stirred his imagination further, igniting desires he rarely voiced. While he understood the importance of his job, a small part of him yearned for freedom, for a life rich with experiences instead of shadows and silence. Tonight, however, as he patrolled through that familiar darkness, he sensed a change in the air around him, a feeling that whispered promises of the unknown were just waiting to be discovered. As Henry patrolled the bank, an unusual stillness pressed around him. The silence felt thicker than the air, almost whispering secrets of its own. He paused near the entrance, scanning the shadows that draped over the counters and furniture. The clock on the wall ticked away, but something about its sound seemed louder than usual, echoing in the empty space like a heartbeat. It was then he heard a faint rustle coming from the direction of the safe. The noise was slight, yet it sent a shiver up his spine. With curiosity breaching his usual caution, he approached the towering safe, peering into the dim light that cast long shadows across its surface. Each subtle creak of the floor below him heightened his senses as he felt an unsettling change in the atmosphere. Something was different tonight. He instinctively felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. His heart raced, imagining all sorts of scenarios. Perhaps a gusty wind had forced an unnoticed window open, or maybe a stray cat had sneaked in while he wasn't looking. Yet, deep down, he knew that it was more than that. There was a strange electric energy in the air that hinted at something extraordinary waiting to happen. Henry's mind raced as he considered what this could mean for him. Was it just a trick of his imagination? Or were these quiet sounds calling him to embrace whatever lay beyond his routine life? Ignoring instinct might lead him to miss an opportunity. For once in many years, he felt propelled toward uncertainty and wonder. Just as Henry steeled himself against the unknown, a sudden click broke the thick silence that enveloped the bank. He turned in shock, eyes widening as he watched the enormous safe door begin to roll open with a smooth, almost unnerving motion. It moved as if guided by an invisible hand, creaking softly as the metal scraped against the floor. The sound cut through the stillness like a knife, and his breath caught in his throat. The dim light flickered ominously, casting long shadows across the room that danced wildly, as if in response to some unseen force. As the safe door continued to glide open, a chill swept through the air, causing goosebumps to rise on his arms. Felt both magical and menacing. Henry took an unsteady step back, heart racing. Fear and intrigue battled within him. What lay beyond the threshold of this cavernous darkness? The faint rustling he had heard moments ago now turned into a breathless hush that seemed to beckon him closer. The sight of the yawning entrance swallowed up any remaining light, creating a velvet void that promised mystery yet whispered of danger. Henry stood frozen for what felt like hours, staring at the gaping maw of the safe. Somehow it had come alive. Was it a trick of his mind or a sign from fate? His pulse quickened as overwhelming curiosity tugged at him. This moment could lead to liberation or calamity, and deep down, he knew he was on the verge of something profound. As the safe door slowly rolled open, it revealed a darkness unlike any Henry had ever encountered. It was thick and rich, enveloping everything in a velvet-like shroud that seemed to absorb light and sound. The edges of the opening swirled with shadows, creating shapes that played tricks on his mind, as if they were trying to communicate secrets he couldn't decipher. The silence that hung in the air felt heavy, almost tangible. It pressed against him like a soft, dark blanket, wrapping around his thoughts and leaving him breathless. Each heartbeat echoed loudly in his ears, a stark contrast to the quiet that surrounded him. Even the familiar sounds of the bank, the ticking clock and the distant hum of electricity, faded into nothingness as he stood at the threshold. In this expanse of velvet darkness, time seemed to lose its grip. Every moment stretched out, filled with possibility yet weighed down by uncertainty. Henry felt a shiver run down his spine. The air was cooler here, as if the darkness had a life of its own, inviting him deeper into its depths while warning him of dangers unseen. He took a cautious step closer, feeling an irresistible pull. What lay beyond this abyss? The unknown called to him with a voice so soft it was almost a whisper, urging him to leave behind the confines of his ordinary life. The velvet dark held both promise and peril, a realm where dreams could come alive or nightmares could emerge. As he teetered on the brink, he knew that all he had ever wished for was just beyond that door. Henry stood at the brink of the open safe, his heart pounding as conflicting emotions surged through him. Astonishment gripped him tightly. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The darkness seemed to pulse with life, drawing him in like a moth to a flame. Yet, a shadow of fear loomed over him, reminding him of his duty as the night guard. What if this darkness concealed dangers he couldn't foresee? He felt torn between the alluring call of adventure and the responsibility that weighed heavily on his shoulders. The safe had always been a symbol of security, yet now it transformed into something unknown and thrilling. As he contemplated stepping inside, his mind raced with possibilities. What treasures might await him? What secrets could be revealed? The thought of escaping his monotonous routine fueled his curiosity even more. Yet, the echoes of his duties whispered warnings in the back of his mind. He was there to protect the bank and its contents. Venturing into that abyss might mean abandoning that purpose. Ignoring his instincts could lead to unforeseen consequences, not just for himself but for everything he had sworn to guard. As he stood there, drawn toward the velvet dark, Henry felt an urgency building within him. Could this moment be the key to unlocking a life filled with excitement and freedom? Or would it plunge him into chaos? Each heartbeat echoed louder than before as he wrestled with the choice before him. Dare to explore or retreat to safety. As Henry stood frozen at the edge of the open safe, his mind raced with thoughts of freedom and adventure. He envisioned a life beyond the bank's walls, where he could explore the world unencumbered by the duties that had defined his existence for so long. In his daydreams, he could feel the sun on his face, taste salt in the air from distant oceans, and hear laughter echoing from bustling markets in far-off lands. The allure of freedom pulled at him like a gentle breeze, promising a break from the monotony that had become his life. Imagined journeys filled his head, sky-high mountains to climb, forests to wander, and vibrant cities to discover. Each thought ignited a spark of hope within him, painting pictures of what life could be if he dared to take that first step into the unknown. Yet, as he considered these dreams, shadows of doubt crept in. What if leaving meant abandoning everything he had worked for? The security of his job provided stability, the late-night shifts that came with routine gave him purpose. But did that purpose truly fulfill him? Henry felt a stirring inside, a yearning not just for adventure but for meaning. Was it enough to merely exist in this role as protector of the bank? Or was there something greater waiting for him just beyond that velvet darkness? The tension between duty and desire swirled around him as he fought against the chains of expectation. Perhaps tonight was not just an opportunity. It was a call to break free and embrace the life he had always dreamed of living. The moment felt electric as Henry stood on the precipice of change, his heart racing in rhythm with the pulse of the darkness before him. Taking a deep breath, he steeled himself, aware that this single step would lead him into the unknown. With a mix of excitement and trepidation coursing through him, he took that first step into the open door of the safe, feeling an exhilarating rush wash over him. The air inside was cool and thick, wrapping around him like a shroud. It was both inviting and intimidating, as if the darkness itself was alive, eager to embrace him while simultaneously holding hidden dangers. As he stepped further in, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The chains of his routine suddenly felt lighter, like they were falling away with each stride. Henry's senses heightened. He could hear the faintest sounds, his own breathing and the soft whisper of his footsteps against the floor. Each sound reverberated in the silence, intensifying the thrill of his decision. The promise of freedom called to him louder now, drowning out the echoes of doubt. He imagined everything that lay ahead, possibilities unfurling like a map waiting to be explored. Yet, just as quickly, a flicker of fear crept in, reminding him that he was leaving behind the familiarity of his duties. What if he lost everything? But as he moved deeper into the vault's embrace, he pushed those fears aside, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a longing for a life beyond confinement. This was his moment, one where he could redefine himself and choose adventure over safety. As Henry crossed the threshold, the darkness enveloped him like a soft, thick blanket, swallowing the last remnants of light. Each step felt heavy yet liberating, as if he was shedding the weight of his past life with every movement. The cool air brushed against his skin, awakening every sense, amplifying the heartbeat thumping in his chest. It was a sensation both exhilarating and terrifying. With each stride deeper into the void, Henry could feel the familiar confines of his existence slipping away. The bank, the routine shifts, the responsibility to protect, began to fade into mere echoes in his mind. He felt a surge of emotion rise within him, a potent mix of fear of the unknown and an overwhelming thrill of possibility. Memories of long nights spent guarding empty halls flashed through him like shadows in the dark. They were fragments of a life that had become predictable, safe, yet unsatisfying. In this new space, he could almost hear the whispers of adventure calling out to him, sweet promises of exploration and discovery that danced just out of reach. The darkness seemed to pulse with potential, urging him forward into uncharted territory. Yet, beneath that thrill was a hesitance. What if he lost everything he had known? But as he ventured further into the abyss, that fear began to dissipate. With each breath he took, he felt himself growing lighter. No longer just a night guard but something more. An adventurer on the brink of a new chapter. This was his moment to redefine who he was and embrace a future filled with endless possibilities. As Henry stepped further into the thick darkness of the safe, he felt an exhilarating shift within himself, as if he was breaking free from the chains of a life that had become too predictable. The air around him was electric with possibilities, every breath tinged with the promise of new adventures just waiting to unfold. The shadows enveloped him like a cloak, shielding him from his former existence and inviting him into an uncharted world brimming with potential. In that moment, crossing the threshold felt like more than just a physical act. It was a leap into a new beginning, Henry realized that each step taken was not merely escaping the past, but embracing the unknown future that lay ahead. A future where he could seek out experiences and forge his own path. The darkness became less daunting and more like a canvas waiting for him to paint his story. The weight of fear still lingered at the edges of his mind, but it was overshadowed by an invigorating courage that pushed him forward. He envisioned vibrant landscapes, thrilling encounters, and myriad opportunities to shape his destiny. This was not just about adventure. It was about discovering who he truly was when freed from old expectations. As he embraced this profound moment of transformation, Henry understood that stepping into the darkness marked not an ending but a beginning. A brilliant chapter filled with adventures waiting to be written. His heart raced, brimming with excitement at all that awaited him in this unbounded expanse of possibility.